Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Paul Hall and 10th Man, together with Chocolate saying, how you doing, Chocolate? In G+. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Good morning.
Hello, hello, hello.
And we're also joined by a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello, 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 whatto?
Hello, hello, hello. Any evidence?
Oh, I forgot.
What's up, Chad?
Hey, Arwin. Let's get the hellos out of the way and then we'll start housekeeping. Hello, Arwin.
Hello.
I think since Travis is here, I think you need to do gravity first. Just do gravity first.
Fine, that's not an issue with me. Any scientific evidence of the reification fallacy that is gravity?
Scientific evidence of what?
The reification fallacy that is gravity.
Can't lie, I did kind of miss that.
Any evidence of a physical...
No.
Okay, no. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curve?
Not from Travis's boat.
He's in a truck at the moment.
Well, his future boat.
Future boat. Oh, okay. The one discussed in the pre-show.
Not truck, not boat, not anything, not plane. There's no curve.
This stuff is flat. Sorry.
Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Hey, Tony.
No,
Was
can't hear
that
him.
Paul DeGrasse Hall talking?
Hold on, just one sec. Hey, Sleeping Warrior. Maybe not. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Hey, 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 hey.
Hey, hey, hey.
Sorry, my settings are all wrong. Have I missed the reification question about gravity?
Yeah, you have, yeah.
Oh, can we ask it again?
Maybe at the end.
Okay, then.
Can you, on your potato, can you, on your mic, double-click that graphic equalizer and put it back in the middle? It sounds horrendous. The little square with the red dot in the middle of it.
Is that better?
Yes. Moving on. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Yes, it's over there.
No.
No.
It's over there.
I control Nathan.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Debbie. That's enough. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No, they're all observation based.
It's wondrous.
I don't think they have any plans trying it out at some point. I don't think they have any plans just yet.
Well, they've proven it through the wondrous method.
Any evidence?
What do you mean, like the wonderful world of science? Kind of like the wonderful world of Disney?
No,
Is that
that's like
what
the
Becky
Wonderful
called it?
World of Oz, isn't it? You know, Oz, the Wizard of Oz is the pseudo. He represents the pseudoscientists. That's what he represents. You pull back the curtain and realise that everything they've claimed about science is actually complete lies, just so stories, and in actuality, pseudoscience. But that's pulling back the curtain, like in Wizard of Oz.
The Emperor's
That's
got
what
no
we're
clothes.
I heard something about the Emperor. Go ahead, Travis.
The Emperor's got no clothes.
Yeah, exactly. I think we used that for a comparison in terms of rocket launches about a month or two ago. But yeah, exactly. There's plenty of comparisons, or analogies, I should say. Moving on. Where were we? I've forgotten where we were. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nope.
Nope.
What about the R value? Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius?
Black Swan.
Yeah. Like, why are we so outraged that they're just presupposing R? No.
Because it's claimed to be true, and we'd want proof of it, as opposed to a presupposition of it. That's a logical fallacy, Arwin. That's why.
Well, they don't seem to understand that. Or
No
they
shit.
don't want to. They don't
Really?
understand why we object with R.
This is news to me, Arwin. Wow. You mean they don't understand that they're begging the question? I'm amazed to hear this.
Professor Phil
they don't
Bell
understand
definitely
why it's a
understands that.
problem. They don't understand why that's a problem.
Well, they have it on their model, and then they try to reify it into reality.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Still waiting out on that one. They can't answer that one.
All they have is time, Nathan. Of course,
Well,
doesn't time work towards entropy? But also that video I showed, time is the cause of gravity. So I don't know. I'm confused.
Yeah, time is a proportional entity when it comes to entropy. So entropy is proportional to time. The more time passes, the more entropy will take place. The more of an entropy increase you will witness, etc., etc. Proportional to time. Time's not a cause. This is conceptual. In other words, we'll define the parameters of what time actually is with integers that we arbitrarily lay down. But that's meaningless. Certainly not a cause of anything.
I just talked about that on the Early Bird show for like 15 minutes.
Cool.
You could ask that.
What time really is and how we perceive it. How would we know if the things that make us perceive time would change? How would we even realize that? And all that. Anyway.
You could ask that question to any wrestler. When he's pinning his opponent, the ref counts off once his backside's on the mat a little bit of time. Now, is time pinning the opponent, or is the wrestler on top of the other wrestler pinning the opponent?
Yeah, did you lose because of the count, or did you lose because a guy's pinned you down? Was it time, 1, 2, 3, that caused you to lose? No.
Nathan, did you... sorry, have we finished housekeeping?
I've got one more question, I think.
Wait a minute. Before we move away, though, if the time was moving faster at his head than at his feet, then you could say it pinned him. So there you go.
Hold on. Time isn't moving. Yeah, time is something we will assign to it to give it duration. It's not moving. That's kind of farcical statement when you think about it. Now, I realise that for simplicity's sake, you can describe moving forward through time, but you can't literally do that. Nor can you move back through time, nor can you bend time, nor can you see time, hold time. It's just a concept. Ugh. Any evidence of the reification fallacy that is gravity?
Oh yeah, gravity.
Scientific
is most
evidence of
definitely a reason.
what?
Gravity is most definitely a reification fallacy. It's the best example of a reification fallacy that we can give. Because as we all know, reification is the concept or the process of materializing a concept. So where something doesn't actually exist, like unicorns, for example, we all can understand how unicorns have got a horn on their head, and they all get fed grain and oats and corn and all these things that unicorns that we can metaphorically describe doesn't mean they're actually real. It's the same with gravity.
Well, that unicorn's not going to live very long. You know, they need to eat grass.
Yeah. And we know that they've got to be exercised at least twice a day. And we know that if you don't feed them enough water with a special amount of hydrocarbons in it, it doesn't grow its nails properly and all that lovely stuff. Gravity's the same.
Wait a minute. The unicorns that live in my backyard that I describe in detail, he don't live on Skittles. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, yours live on Skittles. You must have a different strain of unicorn than what we have over here.
If we're done with the hypothetical unicorns as an example, that would be the conclusion of housekeeping.
Yeah, kids, don't feed Skittles to animals. It's not good.
Especially not unicorns. Not the English unicorn, anyway.
In the interest of balance and brand recognition, feel free to feed as many Skittles as you like to animals, just in the interest of balance.
Especially your mate's pets. Right, Nathan, do you want a screen share?
Yeah, sure.
Black unicorn.
But wait a minute,
I've seen this. Hold on.
So you know.
Hold on 1 second, Paul. I've seen this. Is class. Mike's all yours. Go ahead, Super Mario.
All right, there's 2 quick videos. They're only really short, and I can play them whilst I'm talking about them. What this camera operative is showing is this mill in the background, this big building. And what she does is she zooms in on the building, and the point she's making is that as she gets closer to it, it gets smaller rather than bigger. And you can see now it's shrinking a little bit. And I mean, this reminds me of Alfred Hitchcock's effect, the Alfred Hitchcock effect a little bit. I don't know whether it is that. It might not be. But it's getting smaller as she's getting closer to the mill in the background. And as she gets right on top of it, it gets really small. Now, the point she's making is that it should get bigger as you get closer to it, but it seems to be being magnified. Now, it might not be. And people have said, don't jump all over it just yet, because there may be some other explanation. So what I've done is I've looked to see whether or not there's any other videos of the same effect, showing the same effect. And this is another guy doing it in different weather conditions. But again, he's making the same point. So as he starts driving down the road, he's pointing out that the mill in the background in the opening seems to be getting smaller as he's getting towards it. Now, this guy's very slow with his drive, so I'm going to speed it up a little bit. But the point he's making is that whilst he's got his camera focused on the thing in the background, as he gets towards it, it gets smaller. You can see it. It's literally happening right now. So I'm not saying that this is definitely something that's true, but it seems to be a phenomena, seems to be being caused by getting closer to it. And it might have something to do with the way we perceive the world that we call perspective, that we didn't previously know about, but now are aware of. And I'm wondering if Rumpus could demonstrate this with an orthographic perspective hijacking, proof of nothing drawing to explain why it appears to do this, because this is certainly what seems to be a phenomena. And now that we're aware of it, maybe we can have a conversation about what's causing it. But it shouldn't get smaller as we get closer to it. So I don't know what you guys think of that. Have you seen this, and what did you think?
Well, the relation that you'd be describing would be an angular relation, and that's a completely ignored factor of life. When you're talking about the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking, curve calculator, it turns everything inside view. And for the example that you're making with these 2 barns, let's say they're barns, just for simplicity, the barn appears, that would be apparent size, right? To get smaller or bigger, depending on whether you're closer or farther away. Well, the apparent size, also known as angular size, would be delivered with an angle. And the curve calculator, also referred to fondly by us as the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculator, would have this barn in its whole number feet and inches or meters value, would it not?
Yeah.
So if it's a 30-foot barn, it's 30 foot regardless of whether you're right on top of it, next to it, cricking your neck looking up at it, or 30 million miles away from it. It's still 30 feet. And that will not change regardless of distance. Now, if it disappears, the curve calculator will assert it's gone behind Earth curve. ignoring all angular relationships that take place, because it's taken that effect of angular relationships, otherwise known as perspective, and called those effects Earth curvature, hijacking perspective. So you'll never get them to explain this within the parameters of the curve calculator, because it does not deal with perspective. The targets are given in whole numbers that do not change with distance. That would be angular size, also known as not actual size, or apparent size. So these changes are a change in apparent size. The curve calculator can't cope with that. Actual whole number sizes only.
What I do realise is that the Armco barrier that's dividing the road from the falling off the edge of it, at whatever it is that's below it, obviously that gets bigger as you get closer. So that's creating some element of illusion with the size of the thing behind it. But it does really look like it's getting smaller as he gets towards it. And it's something that maybe we need to look at and just wonder, is this like a weird kind of illusion thing that's just to do with being there at that time, or is it something to do with the Hitchcock effect? Don't know. Just wanted to raise awareness to it because it's a very interesting video.
As you've reiterated your point, I'll reiterate. Go on, Travis. Go on.
Tony, if you go to the first video at 26 seconds, I thought at that point that I would say that it was towering. What do you think?
Let me do it again. The first video at 26. Well, I mean, I think that this is the reverse of the Hitchcock effect, possibly, where the Hitchcock effect is where you zoom out and you do that zoom in thing at the same time. Perhaps this is zooming in and doing something funky with the zoom at the same time to get the effect. I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, I think it's just interesting. It might not be anything, but I just wanted to mention it because she wanted explanation for it. It seems to be perspective related. It seems to be something to do with our topic. So it was worthy of showing it and just seeing what people thought. It might be nothing, but it's just interesting.
It's not nothing. Yeah. It's absolutely got a point to it. I just shouted Unitox Femu. So Glober's looking for black unicorn. ... Still nothing. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Unitox Femu. I'll reiterate my point because you've started to focus on what could cause this. Now, that's very interesting, and I'm not going to decry anybody who wants to figure out the nature of our world. That's the whole point of this. However, as I said earlier, we are talking about the apparent size of this building, are we not?
Yeah.
The apparent, otherwise known as angular size of anything, is ignored, cannot be accounted for by Earth religious mathematics. They've taken the exact effect we're going to try and figure out the cause of and called it Earth curve. So you want to know what the calculator will tell you? It'll tell you Earth curve caused this. It's only got one cause. And it's not that, is it? It's obviously angular related, not accounted for in maths, that only deals in actual sizes. So this debunks the curve calculator because it cannot compute it.
Yeah, I think the other point is that as she's getting towards it, it seems to get smaller relative to what it was when it first started. So you're watching it shrink as she gets smaller. So it's not just the apparent
angular sizes, doesn't it?
It seems to get smaller.
Hey, Anthony, can you hear me? Since you're saying it's a Hitchcock effect, is this taken north by northwest?
Oh, God.
I'm not saying it is. I'm just suggesting it reminds me.
Okay, hold on a second, Anthony. Hold on
totally missed that.
Just one second. Hello?
Yeah.
Can nobody hear me saying just 1 second 5 more times? Vacuum is a brand name. Go ahead.
I did completely miss it. Right.
Let's try that once more, hopefully without interruption. Go ahead, Vacuum is a brand name.
If it gets smaller, the closer you get to it, doesn't that debunk angular size?
Or that is angular size. Do you mean debunk it? It is it.
But angular size says if you get closer to an object, it gets a...
No, that's not what angular size says. Number one, please don't reify angular size into an entity that can talk. No, it doesn't say anything. Angular size is the size in an angle. And what we're describing, i.e. getting bigger and smaller, that's its angular size. So does its angular size changing debunk angular size? No, that's absolutely absurd.
Okay, Nathan, don't need to get angry.
So I wasn't getting angry. Oh, do you need it with a smile?
Sounded like you were.
That's all right. I'll insult you with a really big smile as well. You, mate, are a complete retard. I'm not angry about how stupid you are, but to debunk an angular size relationship by demonstrating that it's actually changing in angular size, no, that's not debunking it. It's typifying it. It's describing it. It's showing it. It's not debunking it. That makes you thick. Now, do you think I'm angry about how stupid some of the people who come here, like you are? I'm really not very angry about it. I think you're absolutely stupid. Now, you can get around the fact that you've made a really stupid comment by telling me I'm angry, but I'm not angry. I'm quite happy. The people who believe in a globe like you, I am in absolutely no doubt that you think this debunks the necessity to utilise angular size in our world when that's perspective that we all see daily. And you think that needs debunking. And you think debunking it is showing it. That makes you stupid. Now, I'm not angry about that, mate. So, just for the audience's benefit, it appears that this wanker, who thinks I'm angry, has talked through me while I'm berating him the entire time. Right, Neil?
Chocolate, just going to take your hands off Nathan's ball.
Muted and booted again.
Yep. Did you not hear me speak to Neil? So he didn't want to be berated for his stupidity, did he, Neil? So he talked through every word of that, didn't he, Neil?
I can't wait to get muted.
And there he is again. Your name is not Neil. Triggered Fundy. There's no need to get so angry, Triggered Fundy. I'm not talking to you anymore, Triggered Angry Fundy.
I'm very calm,
you stupid
Nathan.
Triggered Fundy Angry Man.
Calm.
Please shut up. Please be quiet, Triggered Fundy Angry Man. Your name is not Neil. How many times do I have to ask this angry triggered man to stop talking? Neil, he wouldn't tolerate me explaining how stupid he was, would he?
No, not.
No, but he felt the need to ad hom me after I pointed out just how stupid his remarks were. Right? Not angry, pointing out how stupid you are. I take great pleasure in that. The world's not a sphere, by the way, mate.
Cringy?
The world is not a sphere, mate. You believe it is. And we do have perspective. Your claim proof of a curved Earth would be this calculator that doesn't use angular sizes. They're definitely real. We've just showed demonstrations of things changing in not actual size. That's angular size. Now, that debunks your curve calculator because it can't use those things. That would be angular size, perspective. They're not included.
Do you know what I've invented?
Sorry, I'm now giving you a point that you're ignoring and asking me if I want to know about some shite you've invented. I don't. Now, you asked me if this demonstration debunked perspective. We detailed that it didn't, and you told me not to be angry. Now I'm pointing out that that debunks your fundamentalist zealotry about living on a globe, and you want to tell me about an invention you've made. Can't you address what I've put to you? I address your nonsense about this debunking angular size when it was actually a demonstration thereof. So I've addressed your question. Now I'd like you to address my point. This debunks your curved Earth maths. It doesn't include perspective. What we have just demonstrated takes place always, without exception. That's not included in your curve maths, mate. Maybe address it, not tell me about an invention you've made, you pathetic coward.
Can I address what you've said, Nate?
What, like I've just asked you to do, given that I addressed you with it and you asked me about an invention that you've made? Yeah, it'd be nice if you addressed it. But you're an angry triggered fundy that wants to obfuscate every point I put to you, but labour every point you put to me.
So do you want me to address it?
Yeah, third time's a charm, mate. Yeah, by putting it to you twice concisely, that technically means, yeah, I wanted you to address it. I don't want you to put a question back to me about addressing it so you can buy yourself some time. Maybe the audience will lose track of what the question is, or you can obfuscate the question, change it in some way, and not address it. Your Earth curve maths has been debunked because it does not include perspective. In fact, it's hijacked it. Third time I've pointed it out. Fourth time, you're going to ask me if you want me to have it addressed. Yeah, I do.
Well, when I said, does it debunk angular size, I didn't say it did debunk it.
No, it doesn't, you complete retard. That would be a reiteration of your point that we laboured, I addressed, and now is an obfuscation tactic to ignore my point. So no, it doesn't debunk angular size. It does debunk the curve calculator, something you've ignored 4 times. move back onto your own
I
point
didn't.
again, which has been debunked and addressed. So we're going to labour your point by stressing it again to go round in another circle, debunking it. It doesn't debunk a demonstration of it. That's absurd. I've pointed that out several times too. But further to that, it debunks the curve maths that doesn't include this effect of angular relationships. Actual sizes only, mate. 5th time I've put it to you. You haven't addressed it yet. What gives? Labour your point, ignore mine?
Tony said the
I don't give a shit what Tony said. I said it debunks Earth curve mathematics. Don't talk about what Tony said. I said this destroys your Earth curve mathematics. Address that.
Is someone going to stick up for me here? Because he keeps talking over me.
Sorry, is that an appeal to the format of the show? Every time you obfuscate away from my 6 times asking you about the fact your curve maths doesn't include perspective, and you've had a demonstration of it and claimed the demonstration debunks itself, and I've pointed out it's absurd and that it debunks curve maths because they don't include angular relationships. 6 times you've ignored it. On this occasion, you've said, am I going to get stuck up for he keeps talking, yet reiterating the same bloody question over and over and over.
Yeah, we got enough
You
red
haven't
herrings.
answered my
thanks.
initial question, Nathan.
Your initial question, so we're back to labouring your point. So I've made the example and demonstrate what he's going to do like I'm clairvoyant. No, it's just because he keeps doing it. So he keeps telling me that we need to go back to his point, that a demonstration of angular relationships changing debunks angular relationships. No, it doesn't. That's absurd. You just keep going around in the circle and ignoring my point that this debunks curve maths, which do not include this effect. You have not debunked by pointing out that we've demonstrated it. That's stupid.
I didn't understand a word of that.
Well, then get out. Then you are retarded. I couldn't be any more concise. You don't belong here if you're that stupid that you can't understand a rendition of the same question 6 times. That makes you thick. Get out. No more thickos. Like Rumpus yesterday couldn't understand a simple question that had been put to him 4 consecutive days. Now, he talked through it every single time it was put to him on those days, and when it was put to him with completely clear air, he couldn't understand the question. That makes him moronic and not worthy of being here. If you're too stupid to understand a simple question, don't come here. But if no one's going to interject that little stony silence, I'll do a few super chat shout outs. Why not? Okay, so shout out to Good Servant. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Really appreciate your support. Also, shout out to Leonardo Gonzalez. Nathan, you are ace. Smash the super chat, people. Thank you very much indeed for the support, and I appreciate the sentiment. Times are tough, Leonardo. But yeah, really appreciate the support. Thank you very much.
Interesting fella, that guy.
You think so?
But he
I
has
don't
a
even
whole
know
of
what
his
the point was. It was just
No,
red herring it.
Allow me to finish. All the times he comes on, he's got this little edgy tonality to his voice, like he's angry all the time.
They're angry at us, Tom, destroying their model. They don't like us for that. We're just the messengers, though. Don't hate us. It's not us lying to you guys. The people who made you believe that you live on a spinning ball in a vacuum. Those are the people lying to you, not us.
If we want to talk about that video again, one of the questions I had as I was watching it, I believe that the turn in the road is at a higher elevation, and so if you think about that from a distance, you shouldn't even see the building because the road is ascending, and then when you get up to the road at the turn, you can see that the building is lower over the water.
Maybe. You'd have to assess the sight lines, like, actually there. But yeah, maybe.
Why did the video show them zooming at all? Why not just have it on one setting as you drive to it?
Well, she's not a professional. She's in her car on her iPhone or whatever, so if it's not staged, she's just messing around trying to figure out what to do and how to make it look right.
Right, but wouldn't zooming in make it bigger just by zooming?
It's the proportionality. It's the proportionality to the road you're looking past, the barrier that you're looking past, and how big it is in the frame as you approach it. So that wouldn't change with zoom. You're not going to make it overall proportionality change by zooming in. That would remain the same, right? Well, it doesn't. So, but ultimately speaking, even the fundy, not even us now. My point is that this is beyond the capabilities of curve maths. Therefore, debunking it cannot be explained, cannot be utilised, cannot demonstrate it. The only assertion it's going to make is Earth curve. Now, even the fundy obfuscated this. Now we're into stepping past it and saying, well, what does cause it? I don't know, but I know they claim Earth curve, though. This, if you put this through the curve maths, it'll say it's Earth curve. It's only got one assertion. And it obviously isn't that, right? It's an angular relationship we're looking at. Well, it can't cope with that. And I just want us to actually dwell on that, because it's the bit that destroys their fundamentalist religion. I know we're all intrigued about the world, and we all on this panel accept that anyway. So we're like, well, why labour that? We know. Well, yeah, but the audience doesn't, and often people come here to hear the debate. So the concluding point is that this debunks curve maths, because it's hijacked this effect and called it Earth curve. So anything disappearing or appearing in the distance is being brought back beyond the Earth curve you've presupposed, and you run through the maths with begging the question 7/6 terrestrial refraction, moving things with respect to the horizon that they now move with respect to the horizon. You know, this circle jerk we need to kill, as opposed to, I appreciate everyone wants to figure out what actually causes it. But there's definitely still a Western world assertion that that's Earth curve, right? Am I wrong? Have I lost the plot? People still think the Earth is a sphere.
No, you're right. I mean, their whole thing is the sight on view. Nothing changes in actual size, and everything you ask them, it's always Earth curve, Earth curve, Earth curve. So if a baller saw this, he's going to say Earth curve. He's forced to say Earth curve.
Was this video supposed to assert somehow something about Earth curve?
No, that's their only answer. That's their only answer,
chocolate,
because they doubled down on that.
Oh, okay. I was wondering how and why this would be asserted as some type of curve effect or something. I thought they just saw a cool video and wanted to talk about it.
I think what Nathan's trying to say is that perspective is being ignored, and they could only say Earth curve, where we can say many other things. But we're going to hold them to Earth curve here because that's the only thing they could say.
What do you mean? That geometric horizon that they said that we don't see? That one?
Well, it's a thought.
What they used to call the Earth curve?
Well, it's a thought.
Nah, they can't be talking about that because they say we don't see that now. So it's got to be something else. Geometric thingamajig or something.
The last guy said we can't see it because it's underwater.
I think that's evidence. I think that's evidence of atmospheric magnification, but that's just me. It's just me.
Ether band.
And is it magnification an effect of refraction? Don't misunderstand that.
No, it's not stated as an effect. There's 5 effects. There's towering, stooping, sinking, looming, and mirage. None of those are magnification. Like, magnification is not one of the 5 effects. Doesn't mean it's not a real thing, but there'd be no point in trying to claim that as you could be pulled on it.
Right, but I think it does need to be incorporated into the categories. I really do.
Got a claim of what it's called by Cleary. Thank you for the super chat, Cleary. Says it's called optical tunneling effect. That's a new one on me. Anybody heard of that before?
Would that be something to do with the duct, the UCT?
Yeah, I've heard it before, and I've seen it before. I called it a multi-tunnel vision. Every object has a certain height, and you are in the center point. So the object disappears into the distance as if in a tunnel. As if the height is in the tunnel, a tunnel that is the height minus the view height.
Yeah, it's far more complicated than that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. If you show a perspective view with the boxes that are cascading into the center point of a view, that would be what you're describing. It looks like you're looking down a tunnel. Well, no, it's just if you draw a point on a paper like you were taught in art class and draw the lines to that center point, that's going to be the cascading down a tunnel effect. Essentially, we're just describing perspective. That's what we're talking about here, just perspective. That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Now,
it only stays a tunnel with no atmospheric effects. That's right.
Yeah. In terms of the Rayleigh criterion, its application to how things will disappear into the distance at that point on the dot, if you will, in your picture. Well, that is calculable based on there being no atmospheric conditions. It's just a mathematical calculation based on the aperture that you're looking through. Well, yeah, that's going to be exclusive of the fact that you could have a massive fog bank bringing the horizon, within yards. So, yeah, absolutely. But ultimately speaking, it's another real effect in life that we have to deal with and contend with. Things get smaller into the distance. Now, the effect going into or down a tunnel is also limited by how and what you're looking over. So, Life is Short, he's actually one of my Patreons, did a 7-hour presentation that got cut back down to about 6, maybe 5 hours on Ranty Flat Earth's channel. I then hacked it up into separate individual sections, maybe 4 or 5 of them, and published each individual section. And one of the sections was in terms of how that angle changes and how that tunnel changes. If you've got a dot on your page and a tunnel drawn with an unlimited angle going up, well, then that box effect is going to be nice and stretched and wide and there's nothing limiting it. But if you're looking over something, like in the picture now, what you're looking over is between you and the horizon. Well, this could be a vast distance, but it's only represented by like half an inch in the picture, whereas obviously you've got masses of sky. Well, that's a limitation of the angle. Now, if you were standing in the middle of free space and there was nothing below you, same with this picture, this distance is a far lesser distance than this distance, top to bottom. Now, that's because you've got the angle being limited by the thing you're looking over. Now, if you raise up in altitude and you've got an unlimited angle down, then obviously that broadens that effect of looking into the distance without things disappearing bottom up as you do. But as you look over something, you've got a far more limited angle over the deck, and that limits the angle and therefore causes things to disappear from bottom up because you've got a limitation to the angle, and it's that which you are calculating when you're working out the diffraction limit, i.e. the Rayleigh criterion, and that's based on angles.
You're looking in a tunnel filled with ground, and that has consequences, yes. And then kicks in the atmosphere, yes.
And all these things we're now talking about, back to my point that this isn't, this is kind of folly. It's interesting, but it's not debunking anything or proving anything. It's just, I wonder what causes it. And in the case of perspective, these aren't accounted for in a worldwide view of the world. It's just Earth curve gets in the way, it's your horizon, and that's it. And when we say, no, you've got this effect called perspective, things get smaller into the distance, we can detail and show repeatedly with calculations from the Rayleigh criterion when it will happen and why it will happen. And this explains how you have things disappear from the bottom up. It's a different cause. And it goes on a list called Flurfspective excuses for Earth curve. It's like, no, that's real. Perspective's real. No getting away from it, but it just can't be done in the Earth curve calculator because they've only got one cause. Earth curve.
Shout out to Timmy Clown and his list.
Yeah, you say fog gets in the way. Oh, atmospheric conditions aren't accounted for in Earth curve maths. They've got 7/6r, a presupposition that light bends at the rate of the radius, or 7/6 of the radius. Well, that's a presupposition of a geometric value being applied to light rays being bent arbitrarily around a curved Earth that they've presupposed. Meaningless. Nothing to do with atmospheric conditions at all. Just a begging the question fallacy on steroids that will later be utilised for a triple your trouble fallacy of assuming that same 7/6r of the begging the question r moves the very r tangent point to a different location. It's absolutely absurd. We're so far into absurdity for this begging the question, proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator. It's not even funny.
Well, it is kind of funny when you realize how farcical it is, but Yeah, I get what you mean. It's not funny.
Take fast too far. When they were begging the question on steroid 7/6R, we had a good laugh about it. You haven't even got an assumed value to prove, and you're begging the question and bending light with it. That's a joke. But it stops being a joke when you're like, hold on. So you're begging the question, we've got a sphere beneath our feet, which would give you a geometric horizon, tangent point. To do this geometry, you're going to clave proves out the geometry. So we're definitely begging the question. What's that? It doesn't match. So you're going to bend light at the rate of the presupposed radius that you've begged the question of the ground we're standing on, giving you a geometric tangent point to measure to prove that we're on the tangent point based sphere Earth that you say we were when you begged the question. So that's obviously getting pretty absurd. We've bent light around at the radius. Okay. Well, now the horizon that you're bending the light at the tangent point of the presupposed Earth that we begged the question that we were standing on to give you a geometric horizon doesn't have the geometric horizon, so you're going to move it with the second stage of begging the question, which is having 7/6R of the tangent point that you can't see to move the tangent point to a different location that you can't see. It's absolutely ludicrous. And by the time I detail that, most people have glazed over and gone, this is so far beyond ridiculous. How can anybody believe this nonsense?
It gave me vertigo as you were saying it.
It's three layers of begging the question to get around the fact that we don't have a geometric physical sphere edge for a horizon.
Nice, concise summary.
Right,
remember the picture Kiwi showed of the huge ship at the Scottish Open floating in the air?
Yeah, with the false horizon below it, a reflection of the sea above, below the boat on the actual horizon. Yes, I do.
Perspective.
I'd like to add something there, Nathan, to what you were saying. I've said this before, but I don't know if it's really gotten through to people. The claim, just for pig iron, the claim that the ballers make that light is bending down toward because of the denser air and gases at ground level, so it's bending light down over a distance. On a flat plane, if that exact same thing happened, it would give the exact same visual effect. So it doesn't prove what shape the physical Earth is. It only proves that if it really happens, that if light really is being bent down, it would only prove that light is being bent down by denser gases. It doesn't prove that the shape of the Earth is anything but flat. It doesn't disprove it, like, if you know what I mean. Because it would look exactly the same. If you're not seeing the bottom of something today, but tomorrow you are able to see the bottom of it, and then next week you can only see half of it, then that's obviously happening over a flat plane. If you know what I mean.
Right. Shout out to Rakia Life. If you don't need this money, send it back. I need new glasses. I used to see curve, now I see flat. Well, I'll have to keep your money, I'm afraid, Rakia Life, because the new glasses, they're not going to achieve that, and I'd be doing you a disservice by sending you the money back. So for that reason alone, I'm going to keep it, and I think you should thank me. No, I'm just joking. Thank you very much indeed for your super chat and your support, Rakia Life. Really appreciate it.
Hey, to back up Brian, just hang on, before you move on. Hold on. Before you move on to another topic, I'm just going to show you this. This is from the Walter Bislin calculator, and you got the same effect. Now, it could be more extreme in the curve of the globe model, but this is what atmospheric conditions can do under the Walter Bislin calculator, depending upon purely temperature variations in the atmosphere. And it looks like the thing on the right is the flat Earth, and the thing on the left is the globe with the same values. Now, there is an extreme difference in the two, but it's the same effect, basically. Just to back what Brian's saying.
Exactly, Paul.
Nathan, can you go to Master B while Brian's finishing his point? I've got Andrew Thomas Young saying exactly what Brian said.
Yeah, thanks, Tent. This what Paul is showing and what Tent is going to say. It's like I had a little silly diagram before. Basically, if light is can be bent down towards the ground due to down towards the denser gases, or because of the denser gases, I should say, then the visual effect will be the same. But the difference between the two is that it would always have to be a certain amount missing due to the globe, but we don't see that. Like what I mean, if we were on a curved surface, but we don't see that. We see differing amounts, and some missing, and sometimes we don't see anything missing. It's like those. One of the best examples is across that lake to Toronto. I think it's Toronto, where people will sometimes see only 3/4 of the buildings, and sometimes they see half of the buildings, and sometimes they see all of them. You know what I mean? It's like, things like that. It's like that doesn't match. No matter what they do, they can't match that. Thank you.
You got that up, Nathan?
Yes, it's on screen now.
Brian, thank you for saying that. Now, the title here is at the bottom of the whole refraction page as he describes refraction. And he's summarizing it here. And it's in bold print, calculating atmospheric, get the globe right there, refraction. But then the very next thing out of his mouth is, all the discussion above deals with plane surfaces. So why would he say calculating atmospheric refraction when all of what he said above it dealt with the plane surface? Then he continues, but the Earth isn't flat. Obviously, they have to keep saying this to themselves, but he took all his calculations off of a plane, then says the Earth isn't flat. Then he says to deal with refraction in a curved atmosphere. So now he wants to talk about spheric and refraction. We have to introduce some geometrical considerations, which have been put on a separate page. The whole thing is contradictory. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Kent. And to add to all that, I've seen 2 blink tests. You know what the ballers throw out as blink tests, where they'll show what a building does look like with the water below it, and then they show it at a certain distance. Jesse Kozlowski has one, and Reg Rhetoric has another one. And I didn't get the chance to see Jesse Kozlowski's one only for a moment, but I did see Reg Rhetoric's one. And the funny thing about it is they never look at what is supposed to be this building behind this curve, let's just say. If you look at the buildings next to each other, it's obvious that the building that's supposed to be gone, like let's say halfway below the curve, right, this nonsense, it actually has stooping going on because it's compressed. Like on the normal building, there are 5 floors of the normal building would make up about 8 to 10 on the one that's supposedly gone over the curve. So even though there is a certain amount of blockage towards the end of it, the bottom of it, it's also compressed all the way up. And there's different levels of compression as well in it, if I remember correct. So things like that, it's just like they never look at these things. And they can't decide whether our curve is going up or going down. They can't decide whether stuff is going down behind the curve or the curve is coming up in the way of your vision. It all screams flat Earth.
How many times have you heard them say refraction can't work on a flat plane?
Countless times.
Okay, except now that I've cited their priest, Andrew Thomas Young. He says all his calculations were done on a plane.
What if you have a flat plane with atmosphere, which they say is the case because we have an atmosphere, therefore everything is refracting. So whether it's flat or not, it's still atmosphere, right?
Well, we can't have an atmosphere. Sorry, Tank, go on, I'd say in a sec.
Well, the second word you have to get out, sphere. That's what he's saying. I mean, I just read it, right? He's talking about refraction on a sphere by calling it atmosphere. So he's begging the question by that word. But he says he did it on an atmo plane.
Right. Quick shout out to Flat Earth Travolta. Anyone know how to perform an exorcism on Sean or for Sean? ? Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate your support.
I do. It's back to the Hitchcock puns. It takes 39 steps. Too long for the show.
Sorry, Godzilla says in reply, people chatting back and forth in super chats. More power to you. Thank you very much for the support. Godzilla37 says, use a shotgun, Travolta. I don't condone that.
I have to say, 10th Man's pun was for the birds.
For the birds, boom boom. Another Hitchcock gag.
Please don't get into a frenzy.
If you're not into Hitchcock, watch more Hitchcock. Hitchcock is ace.
I love Hitchcock. I watched most of his films growing up.
Yeah, scary stuff.
I just want to cap off what we were saying before we lose the point. That you can't have an atmosphere in accordance with the globe model. You can't have an atmosphere unless you're contained.
I'm glad you've mentioned atmosphere, because 10th Man was quick to point out that it's a begging the question fallacy, right? Atmo, air, sphere, fundamentalist presupposition. So a quick shout out to Unitox Femu, and then I'll just add on another point that QE's recently made. Unitox Femu, thank you for the super chat. Nathan, you deceived me, not NASA, so pity. Nathan, you deceived me, not NASA. Okay. Thank you very much for the super chat anyway. So Quantum Eraser recently made a point. So the word atmosphere is a contradiction in terms. Atmo, air, has no shape. It takes the shape of its container. So atmosphere, sphere's a shape, but it's not the shape that it can fill. In the case of the heliocentric religion, the space it can fill is space. So atmosphere is to say that gas has a shape. It doesn't. It's a contradiction in terms. Atmo, air, that's all we're dealing with. But they've got a fundamentalist presupposition that their air sticks to the outside of a spinning ball flying through a sky vacuum, violating the second law of thermodynamics. So they utilise this word, atmosphere, most people are familiar with, which begs the question of a sphere, and also is a contradiction in terms.
When is everybody going to catch on?
10 years? I'd guess. Maybe 10 years? What do we all reckon?
Well, here at the trenches, maybe 1 or 2 at the most, but most of them will never catch on.
You know, Al Bruni climbed that mountain and he got vertigo. Just saying.
Thank you, Paul.
Do we not think this is progressing then, this subject matter? That more and more kids specifically are finding out about it and it's becoming like fairly commonplace with the younger generations? Because I would say it is.
Yes, it is. They're asking their teachers crazy questions.
I thought Neil's question was on the trolls coming here, not the people who watch the show, listen to the show, or watch the show using their brain cells.
While we're on the subject of Hitchcock,
the general public. Sorry, go on, Nick.
No, I was going to make a joke. Go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to add on to what you said about the 10 years. I think, just to add on to that, I think 10 years is a good estimate for the general public. Not for the people we deal with, not for those people, but for the general public is a good estimate that Tide was going to be very, very different in 10 years' time than what it is now. As in the amount of people who are not believing in the globe.
Yeah, that was my sentiment. You're agreeing with me. Thank you. Great. Really appreciate the support, Brian. Also, thank you, Flat Earth Travolta, who says, Sean's alter still thinks water vapour isn't a gas. Okay, I don't really understand that. But thank you very much indeed for the super chat. The tree canopy creates the optical tunnelling effect. And as you come out of the canopy, the building optically shrinks. Ah, so that's a good explanation, Cleary. I like that. Yes, that makes sense. So it's the because you're driving through a tunnel of trees is essentially what Cleary's saying, and that's creating an optical illusion, so that the angular size of the building appears to be different. Only appears; it's not actual size. Just want to get that in there. Thank you very much for the super chat, Cleary.
What was your joke, Nathan? I'm interested.
Oh, I can't remember now. It's about Hitchcock. Can't remember. Let's make up an interesting Hitchcock detail. Psycho's not about a psycho. It's about a schizophrenic.
But you can think about it that way if you like.
Yeah, you can think of him as a psycho. He's actually not. He's a schizophrenic. He's not a psychopath.
I wonder if that couple who took that video that Anthony showed, if they put it in reverse, would it show the same in the rear window?
Rear window.
Sneak it in.
Go to one page. Go to one page.
Making me smile.
So it's amazing. George Muser says gravity's not a force. Literally, it's not a force. And if Chocolate wants to give the quote on the really is level, I'll wrap up my statement. Are you there, Chocolate?
What we can, we do, we must consider Newtonian gravity as a force. It doesn't mean it really is one, but we don't necessarily have to work at the really is level.
Thank you. Thank you. So you can think of it as one, but it's not. And this is the same thing happening with the citation of Andrew Thomas Young. He's pretty much saying everything I've done about refraction studies was from a plane. But if you want to think spherically, you can.
Anthony around? Because Anthony's point early on in the show is that because of the base foundation of... You there, Anthony? Because the base foundation of this is in mathematics, abstractions, this is the very essence of a reification fallacy, to turn that which is merely mathematical... And... Go ahead, Anthony. So turning that which is purely mathematical into something that's in real existence, turning that which is not concrete into something concrete, i.e. a reification fallacy. So gravity is a reification fallacy. That was Anthony's point earlier on the show. He's not around, unfortunately, other than with a bit of feedback. One last try. Anthony, you there? Nope. Well, I've made his point anyway, so there we go.
He's a sleeping warrior at the moment.
Indeed.
Well, I got a good one for you to wrap up the Hitchcock punch. The ballers really hate the show today because Nathan is the man who knew too much.
Boom, boom! Any more for any more? Quantum.
And one thing before.
Go on.
Sorry, Nathan, you were saying something. I just say, remember yesterday we asked for a spanner in the works? Hashtag same team.
Say that again? I lost you there.
Remember yesterday before the show we asked for a spanner in the works? Hashtag same team.
I don't remember.
I'll explain later. Don't worry.
Okay. All right.
Did
you got me on that one.
Thanks.
Quantum.
Yeah.
Quantum, did you want to add something?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and you keep the same Boricua, which is off. Nathan, I got an opinion about the 10-year thing. I really doubt that in 10 years we will have people actually knowing the truth. Just because I put an example. My sister is supposed to be a science teacher, and yet when I started asking her about, explaining about the scientific theories and regular theories, she was just, theory is just a theory. It's just compound me how much. I mean, if the teacher doesn't know what a scientific theory is compared to what's actual theory, that where's science going? I mean, it's going down the drain. I mean, and everybody's going to be more delusional in 10 years than that actually they are.
Maybe. Pseudoscience, in my opinion, is going down the drain. Science is an empirical method. And with that, you can hear the conclusion of this discussion if you are watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, as the after show will start shortly. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, then this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and smashed the super chat. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you are watching on a premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!